What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. I want to do a quick, no BS guide on the Craft a Gear event, just because in case this is your first time experiencing this, I want to get you at least your foundation set up correctly so you can get this started. Just a quick PSA, they did say on the patch preview, I think I mentioned it if you watched my last video, that it said it was only going to be available during January, but if you can see up here, we do have a full 60 days as per normal, so no worry. I don't even think it was possible to complete both gear sets within 30 days, or at least it would be super like time constraining. But regardless, we have plenty of time. That being said, you still want to get started, so let's go ahead and get this show on the road and talk about what sets to pick and things like that. Now, this is going to be a general overview where if you just want to, no thinking, pick something great, what I'm going to go over here is going to be extremely solid, mathematically going to be the most efficient gear choices. But if you've been playing a little bit longer and you want to go off the cuff a little bit, which is what I'm going to be doing, and maybe build for a specific unit, an off-meta build, something that's not necessarily efficient, you can go ahead and stop by my YouTube or Twitch live streams and ask me over there, because this is going to be more general purpose for the people that just want something amazing and no thinking involved, okay? So with that being said, that kind of sets our ground rules for what we're going to be going for. We want to focus on sets that are universally powerful, sets that'll be more for our units like DPS that are a little bit harder to gear than things like knights and supports. And so we're going to want more probably offensive sets, things like speed set, destruction set, and maybe something like pen set or torrent if you really are like on the cleaver end. I would try to stay away from even pen and torrent if you can, just because there's units like Empyrean Ilanov right now that hurt sets like penetration set, and then torrent is really for the all-in characters, which you may not be ready for or not even have access to just yet, where instead if you just go for, if it's going to be a DPS, go for destruction, or if you need some speed, which we're going to be discussing here, speed set is always solid as well, right? So try to stick to something like that. We're going to be more offensive because they're harder to gear once again. And so try to choose between one of these four sets. Now, if you want to go off the cuff, like I was saying, come try to find me, catch me online. You can message me on Discord as well, and we can go over something that's a little bit more unique. But I would highly suggest to pick one of these. Now, I'm going to be going for something like health set, so hopefully I can go back and change this. I think I can without points. But regardless, I think, let me go ahead, just in case, so I don't waste points here. I'm going to pick the health set. Just remember to go over one of the things I said, all right? And if I can change this, then I think we'll be okay. But here we go. Let's go ahead and lock that in, all right? Just imagine you have a destruction, pen, torrent, speed set here. In terms of sword, helmet, and chest, my overall suggestion would be to go for helmet. Once again, this is a guide, right, where you don't have to think too much. And the reasoning behind this is, if you weren't super aware on how substats work in Epic 7, certain pieces can only roll a certain amount of gear, or a certain amount of stats, I should say. Chest piece, for example, cannot roll percent attack. Weapons cannot roll defense. Helmets can roll the most amount of substats, so it's going to be the hardest, number one, to roll, because there's just more variance. And secondly, since it can roll more stats, we're going to want to fit all of the offensive stats for our DPS unit here onto the helmet, right? Quick edit, I think you can reset for free in case you do change your mind, and I may go off health set. I'm still deciding on subs and all that, but we can hit this reset button, just a heads up. So at least for the sake of this video, I can show you guys a few things. Remember that this should be a destruction, speed, torrent, or pen preferably, and I'll show you guys at the end. I have two other examples of gear that I rolled in past events to show you an example, but go for the helmet. Now that we lock that in, your subs are most likely going to want to be, since we're going offensive, something like attack, crit damage, crit chance, and speed, and I'll show you why here on to the next step, okay? The reason we're picking these four is just because, like I keep mentioning, DPS are typically harder to gear than units like knights and supports. On top of that, just keep in mind that this is going to be a generic DPS spread, where some characters, even DPS characters, may not need attack. They may not need crit chance, for example, units that crit chance or crit for free. So keep that in mind, that you may want to alter this slightly if you have someone specific in mind. Once again, this is just for a all-purpose. You're going to have a lot of units that want a full DPS stat spread. So even if you don't have someone in mind right now, the more generic you go, the more universal you go, the better. So we lock this in here, go to the next step. And here is what I'm talking about. Now, I don't think I have the points yet to lock these in, but I will show you guys the finalized piece, and they actually show here a little bit of what I'm talking about. So the stats start at the maximum for a 88 piece of gear, right? It's actually the very preferable stats of 5 speed, which we all know how rare, 9% for attack, 6% for crit chance, and then 8% for crit damage, right? The attack, health, defense are all going to be around that 9, and then these are the rest of the stat spreads. You can put whatever you want here, but I would highly recommend, since speed is such a pain to roll, that your first 3 rolls go into speed, and that's going to give you 17 speed. And I'll show you guys the finalized product here. I have this one set up. As you can see here, I actually have 2 pieces. I picked counter one time. The very first time, I followed my own advice and, of course, went pen set. Remember, just pick an offensive set like Destruction, Speed, Pen, Torrent. But as y'all can see here, we went for the 17 speed, and just preference-wise, I also wanted 16 crit chance because that one is also sometimes hard to roll. But if you guys want to instead opt for like more attack, crit damage, be my guest, right? I think as long as you go with the helmet and then you go with the offensive subs and pick a good set, you can't go wrong. Even if you don't have someone in mind, like I keep mentioning, this will find its place on a unit for sure. And I think you might regret not going for 17 speed, especially the newer you are, because if you're just unlucky, it's really hard to hit sometimes multiple speed subs. Now, next up, even though we can't access the right side gear yet, I do want to show you guys a quick example. This would be a ring. Now, be very careful. I'll discuss why in just a second here. But this is the right side piece of gear for something I would recommend. Speed set, right? Just a universal set. Pick your choice. Attack main stat with all offensive subs. Once again, 17 speed, just to make sure we lock in some fast sub stats because it's hard to roll. Now, the reason I say be careful is because I did opt for a flat attack here, which is going to lower our overall equipment score. But for certain units like Shaltir, Arbiter Vildred, Genua, just to name a few, a lot of times like a health or defense substat here is not as important. And instead, if you know who you're going to craft this for, you can go like full offensive and take some extra stats. Just keep in mind that you may want to opt for something like health percent or defense percent, just in case you want something with more overall equipment score. And if you have a unit that does want a little extra bulk, that's going to give you a little bit better value. You can't go wrong either way, as long as you choose the correct stat, main stat, excuse me, the correct set, something universal, and then just make sure that you optimize your first 3 subs into your most wanted stat, preferably speed. And then in my opinion, I think crit chance is the second most important for most characters. Now, I do want to wrap up here, guys. I don't want to take too long on this, but just a quick disclaimer. In case you reset, I showed a free reset earlier. I think the game gives you 1 because when I went back in here, excuse me, Harsetti, I'm trying to talk right now, but the reset is grayed out. I don't know if I continue further, but if you look here into the how to participate, they have all the points and what you need to do to get your weekly acquisition of points to spend here, to roll the subs, to pick the gear, etc. And if you can see, there is a where does it say? There is a reset cost. So I think they give you 1 free reset. So be very careful. I did waste one just for the video. But make sure you kind of, look at what I'm saying. Make sure you ask people. You can stop by my stream, like I keep saying, if you want to ask which gear to craft before you lock it in. But just get started, because these do take a while. And make sure you do your dailies, do your weeklies, because the points that you need, do not miss the weeklies. That where you get the bundle for a majority of this event, okay? But otherwise, enjoy, guys. Don't think too hard on it. If you don't get analysis paralysis, pick a universal set, pick some good substats like speed, and you will just have an awesome piece of gear at the end of the day. Thank you so much. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.